You know, when you learn the secrets to hitting your irons flush, it becomes really easy. You look forward to hitting that mid-iron out of the fairway because you know you're going to hit a good one, and most of your playing partners are going to struggle hitting those shots. Now, I've put together 3 of my all-time best videos that are going to share with you some of those real secrets to hitting crisp irons. Let's go ahead and get started.
The secret to consistency and ball speed on the golf course is forward shaft lean, bar none. If we have forward shaft lean, then that club face is going to be stable through impact, meaning the shots are going to be much more consistent. They're going to be much straighter. There's going to be less curve. And if we have shaft lean, we're also de-lofting the club, meaning we're going to get more energy into the ball and the ball speed's going to be higher. So this is a must-have if we're wanting to be consistent on the golf course and hit great shots. We can actually even swing easier and hit the ball further. So what we're going to go over today is something you may have heard before, but if you stick with me, I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to finally get forward shaft lean every single time you swing. So if you've seen me do any instruction yet, you know that I really like to explain things in extreme. I think it's a really easy way to make so we can easily see what we need to see so that we can make easy adjustments in our golf swing. So if I'm looking for forward shaft lean, I have to be a certain height from the ground. So let me explain that in the extreme. The extreme would be if I'm standing straight up and down. If I'm standing straight up and down when I make my swing, if I were to get forward shaft lean, I wouldn't even be able to reach the ball. I can't physically reach it. So if I'm standing straight up and down to be able to hit this ball, I'm going to have to flip the club. I'm going to have to extend to hit this shot. So the opposite of that, that would be the extreme. The opposite of that would be me covering the ball with my chest. So let me explain covering the ball very quickly. Covering the ball, if I was going to cover the ball, it's almost like I'm putting a roof on it. This would be me completely covering the ball. Now, we can't actually do this when we're swinging, so what we're going to do is we're going to cover it to a certain extent. The more that my sternum gets closer to the ball, the more that I'm covering the ball with my chest. And this is the secret to getting forward shaft lean. It's going to control my height so that I can get forward shaft lean. So if I go to cover the ball, and I'm going to over-exaggerate this even more, just like I did standing straight up and down, and I were to release the club early, I would hit, this is almost 2 feet behind this ball. So in order for me to hit this ball solidly, I'm going to have to do something in order to do that. And the only way to do that is to get forward shaft lean. I guess I could do something kind of weird, but this is not going to be something we're going to be able to do in a full swing. So if I'm covering the ball, I have to get my hands in front to get forward shaft lean. So the opposite, if I do this and I really, really cover the ball and I hit this ball solidly, that ball is going to come out super, super low. You can see my loft on that was 4.6. That's crazy low compared to a regular golf shot. So how do we apply this to our full swing? Well, the answer is this, guys. It's really this simple. When we're making our downswing, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this, we are going to really, in our minds, over-exaggerate this chest getting closer and closer to the ball. And we want to do this on our downswing. So if we're doing this ideally, we're going to stay about the same height on our backswing. Then on our downswing, we are going to, on our downswing, cover the ball with our chest as much as we possibly can. Even in your mind, if you feel like I was doing it earlier, when my chest is completely over the ball, this is what we're going to feel like we're doing. Now, when it actually happens when you go to hit the ball, your mind's going to know where that club head is. So you're not going to actually be able to get this low. If you do get this low, that's great. You can start toning it down a little bit. But most of the time, the player is going to feel this. Now, the number one mistake, just real quick, that you don't want to make is you don't want to do this with your nose. You don't want your head to go down. You want to make sure your actual shirt buttons or your sternum goes down. So I like to tell my students to keep the distance between their nose and their shirt button the same, and we don't want to tuck our chin. We want to make sure we keep that distance the same as we cover the ball with our chest. So when you're working on this to start off with, you're going to need to make sure you pay attention to where your bottom point is because it's going to be much different than it was before. So the drill you want to do is start off with taking nice easy swings, really on the downswing, cover the ball with the chest as much as you possibly can and hit the ball solidly. If you don't hit it solidly at first, that's fine, but you will hit it solidly if you keep covering it. You're just going to have to find a little bit different way than you're used to get to the ball. So I am covering this. I know it looks a little bit weird, but I'm really over-exaggerating this so I can keep my chest down. So what we're going to do is really work on covering the ball consistently down as far as we can go and hit it solidly. Once we feel like we can do that consistently, we're going to make sure that when we can check ourselves on camera, we're going to make sure that we are staying either the same height as we're coming into the downswing, or we're even covering it a little bit more. And that way it's going to guarantee, if we hit that ball solidly, that the hands are going to be in front, we'll have that stable club head, we can release it out in front and get that ball speed that we're looking for. So once we feel like we've really got it, so there we go. That would be about a normal loft. That's actually a little bit lower than normal, about 19.1. The one before that, I think, was like around 10 degrees. So you can see by overdoing this, we can really make sure that we get that forward shaft lean. So when you're working on this, make sure that that chest is covering the ball as much as you possibly can. And this will guarantee, when you hit it solidly, that you'll have forward shaft lean. Because if you don't, we're going to bottom out way behind it. So I'm going to do one more here. We're going to make sure that on the downswing, I'm covering the ball. I'm feeling like I'm getting down here and hitting the ball solidly. Now there we go. That was really, really low. So as you can see, if you get really good at this and you can cover the ball a lot, you can actually get too much forward shaft lean. That'd be a great problem to have, because now you can tone it down and really start to control your trajectory, get forward shaft lean every time, and get that ball speed. Now, that's just the first half of the equation. There's the problem that I see when you start working on this, when we start covering the ball with the chest, is that this club starts to steepen out. This is kind of the tendency that's going to want to have happen. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make sure that as we're covering the ball with the chest, that we're going to be shallowing out the club so that it can come from the inside. And then the next thing that happens, the big problem when we cover the ball, we get a ton more forward shaft lean than we're used to. And usually when a player does this, the club face stays wide open. So what I need you to do, once you're shallowing this out, we're also going to make sure that we square up the club so that when we do have the forward shaft lean, we can press the ball dead straight. So you've seen the lesson on guaranteeing compression on every single shot. We know if we cover the ball with the chest, we're going to be able to guarantee, and we hit the ball first, we're going to be able to guarantee forward shaft lean so that we can release the club out in front. So now that makes great sense with the irons, but now you've got the ball up on a tee, it's forward in your stance, and you've got a driver in your hand, and you're asking yourself, can we get that same covering with a driver or even the woods or hybrids when the ball is further up and we have a longer club and we have a different head on the end of the stick? Well, I've got some great news for you. The answer is yes, we can absolutely do the same thing, and the better news is we can do so with the adjustment's hardly even an adjustment at all. We can do so just by understanding the difference between what happens with the driver and the iron and get the same stability through impact that covering the ball gives us. So real quick, I want to go over again how compression works in the swing, how we can guarantee compression. And this all has to do about how much I'm covering the ball with my sternum or my chest. So again, if I'm standing straight up and down, I have to flip the club to be able to get to the ball. I have to be able to physically reach the ball. I have to flip the club so I can reach it. If I cover the ball with my chest, I'm no longer giving myself the ability to flip the club. I ran out of room to flip, therefore I'm going to have to get forward shaft lean so that I can hit the ball. So again, if we cover the ball with our chest and we hit the ball first, then we are going to guarantee that compression on the ball. And again, covering the ball with the chest is simply the same as if I'm covering the ball or I'm covering a house with a roof. If I cover the ball as much as I possibly can, that means my chest is completely over the ball. Now we can't actually do that, so we understand that the covering the ball with the chest is the more that my chest gets lower to the ball, the more I'm covering the ball with the chest. So that's the simple understanding of how we can guarantee that forward shaft lean. And again, that makes great sense with the irons, but what is that adjustment with the longer clubs? So let's go ahead and grab a driver here, and we're going to go over exactly what the difference is between these two. So as we can see, we have a much longer club in our hand, so that there's going to be some differences in our perspective of what we're actually seeing on camera. So if I'm covering the ball with an iron, I can easily see, if I just take my body away, we can easily see we have forward shaft lean and impact. This is a very easy angle to see. But if I cover the ball with a driver, so I'll even put it up on the tee, and I cover the ball with the driver, we're not going to see as much forward shaft lean. Now I can get a little bit more because I just had one hand on the club, but if we just look at the club at impact, we're not going to see as much forward shaft lean, but we're still going to get the compression. So what we need to do is understand what compression looks like with an iron and what the compression looks like with the driver. So if I have the iron in my hand, all I'm going to do at impact is I'm going to draw a line through my shoulder socket down through my wrist. And when that line's on the ground, I need to see space between that line and the club head. Now, when I take the driver, and let's just say I had that same length with an iron, and now I have the length with my driver, and I'm looking at that same thing. We're not seeing as much forward shaft lean, but if you draw that same line, you're going to see that I still have that same amount of space between that line and my club head at impact. And that's the simple adjustment. We want the same swing, it's just going to be a little bit more on the upswing because the ball's a little bit more forward in our stance. So simply, we're going to cover the ball with the driver the same way we would do with the irons, by getting our sternum closer to the ground, but the ball's going to be a little bit more forward in our stance. So if my sternum's closer to the ground, I'm going to have that same compression angle at impact. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of an added bonus of how to more easily get your chest to cover the ball, because when you have a longer club in our hands, it becomes a little bit more difficult. This is a lot more easier, say, with a wedge. So we're going to actually use 2 points to help cover this ball. So what I'm going to have you do is, in your setup position, I'm going to have you draw a line right off your backside. And instead of just thinking about the chest covering the ball, and this is a lot more prevalent, again, with the longer clubs, I'm going to have you feel like your backside is going through that line at the same time the chest is covering the ball. So as you can see by my backside going through that line, it's going to give me more space to cover the ball with the chest. Now, this is going to be the feel that we're going to get. We're not actually going to be able to get this low, and if we do, again, that's a very good thing because we can always tone anything we need to down. But my sensation is I'm going to cover the ball with my chest by getting my backside to break that line and getting my sternum to go closer to the ground. Again, now that I'm closer to the ground, I've ran out of room to flip, so I'm going to have to get my hands forward and get that compression angle on my drive. This is a position we see all the great drivers and all the touring pros get into, and this is how they can get that stability through impact that produces those consistent, solid shots. So by simply understanding covering the ball by breaking the backside, getting the sternum closer to the ground, and then understanding the angle we need to see at impact, that line through our arm is in front of the ball, now we can guarantee compression on every single shot, all the way from the wedge, all the way through the driver. So let's go ahead and try it out here. Now there we go. If we see this in the slow motion playback and we draw that line through the arm at impact, we're going to see that space between the line and the club head at impact. That's that compression angle we're looking for. And again, my sensation there was I was breaking the backside line so that I could easily cover the ball with the chest, hitting the ball first, and that's going to guarantee that I have that compression angle. Now, when you get the longer club in your hands, you're going to have the tendency to leave the face open because the ball's more forward and you're in a much different position than you're used to. So you could actually see yourself cover the ball, get into a great impact position, you'll get your compression angle, but the ball could go everywhere. So to piece this together to make sure you have the glue that gets this to just absolutely compress the heck out of the ball, we need to make sure that from the top of the swing, we're going to shallow the club out, square the face up, and cover the ball with our lead hand along with covering the ball with our chest. So now we're going to have a super stable club head through impact and have a square face to our target line. So we're going to be able to take full advantage of that stable driver head through impact and getting that compression and the covering the ball with the longer clubs.
You hate hitting thin shots. Everybody hates hitting thin shots. Well, there's one thing that's going to solve this once and for all and have you hitting the ball really solid every single time. So what we have to do to play great golf is we got to get our weight to the left. We have to have our hands leading in front, and then that's going to kind of smush this golf ball in the face. So my hands are in front, I'm hitting down and through, and I'm not releasing this golf club until out in front of the golf ball, meaning that the club head is lagging behind my hands as I'm hitting down. I'm trapping this golf ball against the face, and that divot's going to be in front every single time. That eliminates all those thin shots. And the great thing about this is if I come through impact this way, I can swing nice and easy and still get pretty daggone good distance. So here's a 6-iron. I'm going to feel like I swing pretty easy on this, and let's see how far it goes. There you go, nice little easy swing. Nice tight draw like I wanted, 195 yards carry, rolled out to 202 with the 6-iron. I'm really pleased with that, couldn't be happier. Well, how do we train that? That's great in theory, Clay, but walk me through how I can get that impact and get rid of these thin shots, start compressing the heck out of it. Well, I like to use this wall drill. And you can use any wall in your house. This is what I love. You can do it at your house. You can do it anywhere there's a wall. you can take a cardboard box like this, is what I like to use sometimes too. So I got one of these trucks for my kid for Christmas, and it's a great little training aid here. So I'm gonna set up this golf ball. I'm not gonna actually hit this golf ball. This is a training routine I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna set up here to where this box or this wall is a little bit outside my left foot. So if my left foot was perfectly straight ahead toward the camera, the wall is about a club head width in front. Now this drill is going to be a little bit exaggerated, but that's exactly what we want to do. If anything, exaggerate a little bit too much and we can get even better impact, right, when we ease off of it. So I'm set up with the ball in the middle of my stance roughly, box about a club head width in front of my lead foot. If my foot is square, my foot is slightly open here, which makes it look a little closer. But from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice coming through and hitting this box with my entire club at the same time. Let me actually move this to where my hand would miss this. There we go, just like that. I'm going to move this golf ball out of the way. We'll just have an imaginary golf ball here. But I want to go ahead and have my entire club hit this box at the same time. So I'm feeling some lag. I'm feeling my hands lead the way. I'm hitting the golf ball and the club hits at the same time. Well, if I stood up and flipped, so if I stand out of my posture, I kind of fall back and I flip, the club head hits it early. And you can immediately see how, yeah, the club head is way early there. That's from trying to push the club with the right hand. The sensation I want you to have to get this drill correct is to have that right hand bent back like that all the way through contact. And now you can see how that club would hit the box all at the same time. So from my grip to the club head. Now, another piece of this, to get this drill right, you want to come from the inside. So the last thing I want to do is come out here steep, have this club hit the box at the same time, but it's really not going to be a very good golf swing. I want to imagine here's my golf ball position. I'm coming from the inside, so I'm swinging inside out through contact. I can see how this would be a nice little draw, and then I'm hitting that. Another great checkpoint for this is making sure that the face is square when I do this. The last thing you want to do is have the face open as you hit this golf ball. So almost like I'm hitting a baseball here and I'm doing this to make contact. That would be great because I'm releasing out in front, but look at the face, it's wide open. If I make that same baseball swing down here, the face is pointing wide open. Look how this leading edge is not square with the box when I'm into there. I want that leading edge. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it to where now the whole leading edge is touching the box. So that would be open. This would be square. And look what it does to my lead wrist. It bows that lead wrist just like you're seeing the pros do. So come from the inside, have the face square as you hit that box too. If anything, have the face a little bit closed. Almost draw it a little bit extra as you're doing this. Now third, if I'm going to hit down and through and get rid of those thins, I can't be falling back and hitting up into the box. So what I mean by this is if I get my weight on my right side and my low point would be back here and I'm hitting up into it, look how my club head is way up high on the box. I want to feel like I'm hitting down and through and my club is making contact as low on this box as possible. So if I fall back and swing up, I'm going to be doing this. If I hit down and through nice and solid, my club's going to be hitting lower down closer to the ground. So if I see my club hitting only about an inch off the ground, 2 inches off the ground, I know I'm doing it the right way. You really can't overwork this drill because it helps you just to feel what the release should be like and to get the ball to draw. Again, the biggest thing here is getting that club head to be square. I don't want to do this. That's the biggest mistake people make when doing this drill, have the face wide open. Now finally here, how am I even doing this? Well, I have to open my body. My head stays behind the golf ball, but my body opens up to reach the box. So I don't want to do this and slide in front of it. That's no good. That's going to be a steep over the top chop if my head starts to slide that way. If I imagine my nose being behind the golf ball and then I rotate everything into the box, that's what I'm going to feel like. So my weight shifts left, my body opens, but my head stays behind, and that's exactly what you're seeing with the top pros. So once you get that feeling and you follow those little checkpoints I gave you there, it's going to be really tough to not hit a nice tight little draw. Let's go ahead and give it a whirl again. Let's see if we can get one to turn over from right to left. And I'm just going to have that same sensation that I just had as I was doing that drill. And I might have to start doing that a little more often. Hit that one pretty daggone good. So 6 iron 204, nice tight little draw there. Not gonna do a whole heck of a lot better than that. Now, as I mentioned there, the number one thing is squaring that face. You see, what most people have been taught to do is to square the face by rolling the forearms, and that's a huge problem. So if I put this box out here again, if I've been taught to square the face by rolling the forearms over each other, watch what happens when I do that with this drill. I square the face by rolling the arms. Yeah, the face is square here, but I've lost all my shaft lean. I've lost all my lag. I want to be there. So I square the face with my forearms, and now when I hit this box, it's going to be like that. The toe of the box, or the head of the club is going to be hitting the box first. I have to learn to get that bowed, squared up face from there and release into it. Now, when you roll the hands, the way most people do, that's the wrong way. The pros are doing it where they bow the wrist, they use the wrist in a very specific way. But until you get rid of that idea of rolling the forearms to square the face, it's really never going to work. You're going to be beating your head against the wall trying to figure it out. But until you get rid of that flawed concept, it's always going to be under there sabotaging your results. Well, I'm going to show you what I call the anti-roll method. And that's exactly what I'm going to do there. Get rid of that idea of rolling it. I'm going to walk you through exactly what it is, how to do it, everything you need to know about it in this next video. I'm going to play a preview of that video here in a second. All you need to do to see that is go ahead and click the card. If you don't see one of the cards that pop up on your screen, go down to the link below in the description, click that link, and you'll get instant access to this video there too. So click that video right now. I can't wait to share with you the anti-roll method so not only this drill makes sense, but all the drills make sense on how to square that club face up like the pros are doing and hit draw after draw after draw. Let's go and get started. Here's the bottom line. If you've been taught to roll the club in the early downswing, that causes the shaft to get steep. And that steep club causes all your problems. It causes you to hit it way behind the big hitters and way inconsistent with your quality of strikes. So you're in the tall grass and the trees and the hazards all day long. Now the great news is this. There's really only two pieces that you need to know to fix all these problems. The first one is we need to learn the proper way to square up the club face. Instead of rolling the forearms and getting steep, there's another way that the pros do this. Once you learn this right way to square up the club face, then you can shallow out from the inside and everything starts to fit together. Now I'm going to teach you this right now in what I call the anti-roll method. You may also hear this called the motorcycle move or the tour twist, but let's walk through exactly how to do that. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and go kind of in the last parallel in the downswing. So here, I want my hips to go ahead and be opening up. I want my club to be parallel with the ground, and I want my hands to be in front of my right thigh. Now, when I take my grip, you're going to notice that when I do this, the club face is basically straight up and down. So if I'm looking at it from this angle, you'll see the face is straight up and down, and my logo of my glove is pointed out in front of me. Now from there,